Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to share with you the story of the best investment I ever made. It resulted in massive returns on capital, but also happiness and fulfillment all at once. Have you ever felt your mind kind of pulling you in multiple different directions around your money? Let's say on one hand, it would be great to go on that expensive trip with your friends, or buy that nice piece of designer clothing, or splurge on that sleek new car. When on the other hand, you kind of know you should be smart. In their wisdom, parents tell you, financial advisors tell you, society tells you, you should save a little bit. Because after all, if you accumulate enough capital, that makes life a lot easier later on. And you should really be saving for major goals like retirement or your children's education. Maybe you've saved aggressively for years, and then suddenly in one little fit of impulsivity, you blow thousands on something that you know you really shouldn't have. Or maybe you wanted to invest in a great opportunity, but you procrastinated and you watched that opportunity pass you by, all because there was this little voice in your head reminding you to be afraid of making the wrong choice. And so I too have lived this way my whole life. But what I've learned is that it's not just a lack of discipline, it's internal conflict between different voices. There are different parts of you pulling you in different directions. And for me, procrastinating around opportunities and making impulsive decisions around fleeting desires led to some of the more regrettable events in my financial history. So if you had told me 5 years ago that therapy would make me a better investor and a better business owner, I would have laughed at you. But looking back, it's the single best investment I've ever made. Now, stay with me here, okay? There's a huge financial payoff to this. For years, I, like many other people, was chasing milestones. And fair enough, right? Like, what's the point of anything if you're not really making some progress, if tomorrow isn't a little better than today? But for me, it always meant more revenue, like more success, like bigger wins. And yet, no matter how many times I went back to my list of goals and crossed one off and checked it off, I still felt like I was behind, and I still felt like I wasn't getting the most out of myself. It felt like I just wasn't living up to who I could be. And because of this thought loop, I was burning out. I was procrastinating on things I know I should be doing. And worst of all, I didn't even know why. As I later found out, I was making financial and business decisions for the wrong reasons, right? I was making them out of fear. I was making them out of insecurity. I was making them to prove a point to people or to prove a point to myself. And what I thought was my edge was exactly what was holding me back. You know, at some point I realized if I wanted different results, and in this case that meant to live a more grateful and peaceful and happier life, and be able to recognize my success, you know, I wanted to live in a state of what I called blissful high performance, rather than like a tense, depressed, procrastination, anxiety-riven need to perform. I needed a different approach. And so I did something I had never done before. I invested in a new and different way. I hired an internal family systems coach for $3,000.
A very interesting and effective therapeutic modality called internal family systems, or IFS.
It's quite a radical shift in paradigm. You left all that in the past, not realizing you were locking away, exiling your most precious qualities.
Dr. Richard Schwartz.
Dick Schwartz.
IFS.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Dick Schwartz's stuff.
Maybe some of these parts are bad.
And at the time it felt crazy, right? $3,000 to sit and talk with someone about me and my problems. But what I discovered about myself literally changed everything for me. Remember back on this idea of like being pulled in multiple different directions by different voices in your head? Like when all of your friends are getting rich overnight in meme coins or NFTs, and there are voices in your head drawing you to get in before you get left behind and everyone gets rich and you don't. While at the same time, there are other voices inside you warning you at every stage, like, this is too good to be true, this has to end poorly, there's no way this is real. And so rather telling certain voices to shut up or repressing them by pushing them down and ignoring them, what if I told you that those perspectives are all incredibly valid? They need to be welcomed, even the ones that you don't want to feel. They need to be appreciated. They need to have their say, and they need to be heard in order for you to feel positive and to work in alignment with yourself. IFS therapy, internal family systems, helped me realize that I wasn't just one singular being. I was a family of different sub-personalities that are all inside me and in my psyche, and they're all pulling in different directions. And that I couldn't achieve a state of this blissful high performance that I was after unless I integrated the entire family properly. Okay, so a great quote around this is, "Joy is the matriarch of a family of emotions, and she will not come in unless her children are welcome too." Really interesting, right? So IFS therapy helped me realize that when it comes to money, I'm not just one person making a rational decision. I have different parts inside me, all with their own little agendas, right? There's a part of me that is terrified of losing resources and losing status, right? And so it wants to hoard cash and it wants to never take risks. And then there's another part that's impatient and it wants big wins now. So it chases higher risk opportunity. And then of course there's the perfectionist part that's afraid of making the wrong move, so it just doesn't do anything at all. These parts aren't bad. They're just uncoordinated. And that's what creates stress and indecision and self-sabotage in our lives, whether it's personal finances or in our careers or our business or our relationships. So once I recognized these parts and validated their existence and gave them a space to be themselves and accepted them as they were, you see, each one of these different things were trying to help me in some way. I stopped fighting them. And instead of letting comparison to others or fear of failure or apprehension about what could happen drive my choices, I started leading from a place of clarity. I let the cautious part not control the wheel, but I gave it the space to be cautious. And I let the ambitious part take action, but not in such a rude way to degrade me for hitting targets at a slower or comfortable pace. And that's when things changed. I started investing and running my business with purpose and duty as the motivator, not from fear or from anxiety, but the perspective of a leader or a hero who's shepherding his family through this journey. And when I did that, my mind stopped being this noisy town square of competing priorities, and it started to work for me. So ask yourself, right? Who's really making your decisions, financial or otherwise? And what would change if a blissful, aligned version of you stepped into the leadership role? One part of me, when I heard that, was scared. I was scared to lose my edge, right? If I was no longer tensely ambitious and I needed to succeed, and if I no longer used shame and hatred towards myself and resentment towards other people and anger motivate me, wouldn't that affect my ability to achieve? Wouldn't I really not meet my potential if I didn't drive all this energy into that? But then another part of me who wanted to live happier was okay throwing in the towel, and another part was afraid of making a change at all, so it procrastinated. And let's be clear, this isn't just me. We all have these competing voices when it comes to our careers and our ambitions and our money. And until you learn how to harmonize them, you'll always move from a cycle of rapid progress to burnout, to rapid progress to burnout. At least I did. And through IFS therapy, I learned to stop fighting and repressing my parts and start leading them. When I did that, everything changed. I stopped procrastinating around business initiatives that I know I should have been implementing. I started taking bolder action because I wasn't so afraid of not being validated, or I wasn't so fearful of it not working out. In the past life, that would have been indicative that I was not a valuable person. Where in this new life, my value is separated from the success of the thing because I understand that the voice that sees me only as valuable if I achieve is just one part of me. It's not the entire universe. It's not my entire self. So in a way, I was now operating from just clarity and purpose rather than resentment and anger and all these other things. And you know what? Due to all this, to my surprise, my business grew a lot and my household finances improved. But most importantly, I was actually happy, and people could notice that. My fiance could notice that, my family could notice that, I could certainly notice that. So here's my challenge to you, something to think about. Take a step back, right? And ask yourself, which voice, which subpersonality is dominating your decisions around your career, around your finances, around your investing? Is it the fear voice? Is it the anxiety voice? Is it from the state of blissful high performance in pursuit of your ultimate values? Is it in alignment? Is it in disalignment? And ultimately, are you chasing after success, or are you leading yourself and your parts towards real abundance? And so I think we can all agree that the greatest investment you'll ever make isn't in a specific stock or in a business, it's in yourself, because it provides returns beyond what money could ever give you. And once you get that right, everything else follows. At least that's how it's been for me. So thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully it shed some light on some of the things I've been investing in lately, and ultimately some of these returns that money just can't buy. So thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.